I promised lralon, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, I promised him a video response on Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus. I brought up Camus' essay in his comments section because he had been using the word accident in a way that I thought pointed to Camus' concept of the absurd. lralon seemed to be moving towards the same conclusions that Camus reached.
That to an immortal, every day is the same and will continue to be the same for the whole of eternity. So meaning derives from our finitude, and it's meaning that separates us from animals, because we're not very different from animals, really. I mean, we're just a much more sophisticated machine.
This is how lralon used the word accident.
I would like to respond to a comment by Essaman, who in one of my videos wrote, "First time, I strongly disagree with you. Evolution is very much integral to the nature of the universe. There are no actual arguments to claim that the universe and its nature is accidental. Arguments from ignorance doesn't count. Evolution implies living beings and consciousness. Yes, evolution consists of accidents, but the table is tilted, and things like life and consciousness are eventualities. Also, even if man's essence is very much in flux, he does have it." I guess I did not mean to bring the question of evolution into the debate, nor was I talking about God. I was approaching this notion of us being an accident from an existential standpoint, signify the accident of birth, which is not regurgitation nor cliche. I mean, it's a notion that it's derived from Heidegger's concept of thrownness, the fact that human beings are already given in some sort of way. I mean, we are born in a particular family, in a particular culture, in a particular country, particular time, in a historical context. And all of that, in a way, is an accident.
I suggested that he could replace the word accident with the word absurdity. Both words carry a certain amount of baggage, and they don't mean quite the same thing. A word with less baggage might be chance. None of these words would be wrong, yet each has the potential to mean slightly different things. The baggage that comes with the word absurdity is Camus' absurdist philosophy, a darker sibling of existentialism. This is where Camus' essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, comes in. The story of Sisyphus is from Greek mythology. Sisyphus was sentenced by the gods to forever rolling a rock up a mountain and then watching it roll back down. Camus saw in Sisyphus's punishment a metaphor for the human condition, because what the gods did to Sisyphus is what life has done to all of us. Every one of us is metaphorically rolling their own rock up a hill only to watch it fall back down, then starting over, and in the end we accomplish nothing lasting or ultimately meaningful. This absurdity has several dimensions, and we can see one powerful denial of the injustice and amorality of the universe in religion. We all want to be rewarded for our good and to see at least others punished for their evil. But the universe doesn't care. Religion cannot deliver justice in this world, and so they all promise something akin to a final judgment after death for sin or karma, and they tell us that the justice of the universe is merely hidden, waiting in some hypothetical afterlife, perhaps a heaven or a reincarnation. Whether God exists or not, this absurdity is still a problem. God, if he exists, would actually make the problem worse, as the Bible nearly acknowledges itself in books like Job and Ecclesiastes. The problem of evil is a perfect example of that. So, as Camus said, even if there were a God, it would not matter. And Camus was, of course, an atheist. His views were so powerful that even the intellectual heavyweights of Christianity have to acknowledge them. For example, the former Bishop of Oxford, Richard Harris.
Richard Harris, former Bishop of Oxford. Richard.
Because there are many, many different kinds of atheism. So let me begin by emphasizing that I understand all too well and have the deepest respect for certain forms of atheism. The atheism of Camus in La Peste, or Ivan Dostoevsky in The Brothers Karamazov, haunts and challenges believers, perhaps even more than unbelievers. That kind of atheism is an all too plausible view of the universe.
It may be that some Christians find Camus' writing so threatening that they have felt a need to lie about what he said. While I was working on this video, looking for Camus quotes that I could use, I found a website that I think has some false made-up quotes attributed to him. One quote goes like this: "I would rather live my life as if there is a God and die and find out that there isn't, than live my life as if there isn't and die to find out that there is." I find it highly doubtful that Camus ever said that. It must be either fake or quote mining and out of context. If anybody can source the quote, please do. Now, getting back to the point. What the gods did to Sisyphus can only be a punishment if Sisyphus is conscious of his situation. If he isn't conscious of it, then he is either just a robot going through the motions, or he is deluded about ever finishing his task. Another question we might ask is whether Sisyphus has any choice in the matter. Can he refuse to push his rock? It's hard for me to reconcile, in my own mind at least, how Sisyphus cannot have some choice about his rock and still be conscious. That's because I only feel my own consciousness coming fully and solidly online when I have to make big choices about the direction of my life, when I need to really examine my life. Otherwise, I find it very easy to go with the flow and just operate on instinct, intuition, and feeling. Camus only offered two choices for how Sisyphus might deal with his situation. Both just choices of attitude. They are not mutually exclusive. First, there was scorn. Scorn would include the suicide solution he introduced his essay with. Sisyphus's second option was just to appreciate the fact that he exists. And that's how Camus ended chapter 4 of his essay, imagining Sisyphus must be happy in the end because of accepting the absurdity of life that had always been. It reminded me of the old song that goes, "If you can't be with the one you love, then love the one you're with." I'm a little lost in how to wrap this up, and I think I'll have to return to this topic in future videos. So I'll just recommend Camus' The Myth of Sisyphus to any atheists and existentialists out there. The ideas in Camus' work are something you need to get from the horse's mouth, not from people like me interpreting it for you, and certainly not from theistic apologists. In the end, I myself am not a full-fledged absurdist. In my life, I've seen too many enormous strides made by humanity in science, medicine, and social justice. I can't shake the science fiction fans' feeling that humanity is heading somewhere incredible, so I don't see too much absurdity in science. But most of humanity's other pursuits do ring of pointlessness. Sports, entertainment, even philosophy. Those things can provide what Sisyphus has, the doing and the being and the feeling alive, but they go nowhere. And I don't think Sisyphus is completely without hope. He might be waiting for the day when the gods are overthrown. So it is our knowledge that we die that make our situation even more absurd than that of Sisyphus.